going well.
Yeah, everyone that's had anything to say about it has generally been quite nice.
Been nice.
Well, I've heard most of it. It's awesome, man.
Thanks,
really
man.
awesome.
That means the world to us. It obviously does sound like it's like a thing where it does seem like an unbelievable thing, and maybe it would have been. I grew up listening to Blink. My first concert I ever went to was Blink, and
Nice.
changed my life. And
So that must.
so when you think about it like that, yeah, sure. If someone said, "Oh, you're going to do this with this guy," I would have been like, "Nah, that'll never happen." But then when it did, and then we were doing it, it doesn't really seem like that. Like difficult thing to imagine happening. Like stranger things have happened, you know. Where like we just live in a world now where everyone can just be connected like that. Everyone who's got an iPhone, who's got a Twitter account, or has got a fucking like Facebook account or an Instagram account, you're instantly connected to anyone else that does. So it's really not that difficult to express mutual feelings for things that you like, or you know,
it's my favorite band as a kid, you know, and still have a love for it. So when we first found out that he had even heard of us, it was because he had made a playlist and we got featured in it, and someone had said, "Hey, I heard you on Mark Hoppus's playlist." And what was weird as well was that we were in New York at the time, so it was just quite surreal to be in a place that's quite far away from where we're from.
And it's a really busy show in New York.
Yeah, and then just like, oh, okay, so this guy has heard of us. Not only that, he's put 4 songs on his playlist, and then after a while, it was like the following year, like he had got in touch. He had tweeted something like, "Jellyfish is one of the best songs ever. Thanks for writing it." And then we were like, "Oh my god, this is ridiculous!"
Yeah.
And then we said, "Thanks a lot," and
started engaging with him. You know,
and then there was a conversation that went back and forth, and there was a mutual thumbs up. And then they played us on Radio 1. The Blink were doing like a takeover thing before they played at Reading, and then you could hear them like drumming along to it and stuff, and it was really cool. And they played that, and then he just got straight in touch saying, "Hey, listen, look, would you be interested in working with us?"
But it wasn't even when I first started talking to him, it wasn't about collaborating at all.
No, it was just like, hey,
a
mutual.
Thank you for playing us on the radio, because that was, you know, like that was a big deal for me and myself. I just started dating my now girlfriend, and we were at home, and someone had said, "Turn on the radio," and our song was on. I was like, "Oh, cool." We've been playing on Radio 1 before, which still blows my mind anytime it happens.
Yeah, right.
St. Louis Slot was playing it, and I thought, "Oh, cool. Wonder what's the occasion. Wonder why he's playing it." And then, as soon as the track finished, it was just like Mark and Tom from Blink saying, "Oh, this." They were doing a thing where they had to play one of their favorite songs, and then Zayn would play one of his favorite songs, and then so it was going back and forth, and like they played us like Minor Threat and Weezer and stuff like that, and Japan Droids and things. So it was
quite a nice group to be involved.
So I just like messaged him on Twitter and just said like, "Thanks so much for sending us or for playing us on the radio," and then he added me on Facebook. Yeah, I don't know how he just must have typed my name into Facebook and found me, and he added me, sent me a message saying, "Hey, here's my email, here's my Facebook," or whatever.
Wow.
So we just started talking back and forth about music and just about like, "Oh, what are you up to?" And he'd say, "What are you up to?" And then over like maybe the space of like a couple of weeks, a month, talking back and forth, we were starting to think about recording, and I just asked like, "Do you want to be involved somehow?"
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought how, and then he asked, "What do you want me to do?" And I just want to produce it. And he said, "Yep, perfect."
And it's sung, right?
Really, really effortlessly, just like us asking any of our friends or something. "Oh, do you want to do this?" "Yeah, sure, that'll be fun."
Every time that you do something, you want it to be as good as it can be at the time that it is. So you kind of want it to be like a sort of progression of where you're going for it. One thing that I think we've always talked about before, and you've never talked about, because I joined later, like after the first album came out, and there had been a couple of things there. But you'd always talked about how you were getting sick of being called like lo-fi, and for as good as it can be to have like a lot of charm and attitude in having something that you've recorded yourself, and
when you don't have the means to make a hi-fi recording, that's usually when the best lo-fi bands.
But when you're trying to sound like that,
do you know what I mean? Like the reason any of our original songs may have been slapped with it's lo-fi is because it's technically it is lo-fi, you know. Because I think people need to realize that lo-fi and hi-fi are not a genre. It's just that comes down to what gear you have and how you record it. So like our original releases and tapes and recordings, they're all done with like one microphone and 4-track, and we did all the bits and pieces and stuff. And it's really lo-fi. It's on tape. It sounds terrible, but it has charm to it. So when we recorded our first album, just lo-fi band PAWS, scuzzy grunge lo-fi rocker fuzz
pop
black,
trio.
just words. They're just saying
People don't really
words.
know what they're
They don't-
talking about with it.
Journalists don't think about what they're saying most of the time. It's just
Crunch pop trio.
biblical band. Like, it just, like you just say and put words in front of anything, and then it just like people go, oh yeah, yes. It's like a thing. And that album was recorded in a really, really nice studio, you know, with amazing gear that
Yeah.
I like would never have thought we'd be able to record with and all that stuff. So it's kind of strange to me that it's like, yeah, lo-fi. It's like, it's really hi-fi.
So with this one, we wanted to sound good. We wanted to sound big. It's just like
Conviction.
it's like it's loud and it's not fucking around and it's
It's
also fun.
It really hits you, man. Like,
Yeah, and that's it. I think Mark and James, who was the engineer, like, they did a really good job. But also Stephen, who ended up mixing it, did a really great job of kind of just doing what was necessary to give it that extra kind of
Shine.
yeah.
little
And
shimmer.
he's like in the best possible way. He's an absolute nutter, and I think he got what we wanted to hear from it. So the mix really helped as well. So it's all just turned out to be like it's supposed to be kind of like a blast.
General.
Well, it's just like it's that kind of thing where if there's no point in fucking around,
half
Yeah.
and stuff.
you know.
so you
So it's
just
just
kind
like
of all in.
Yeah. And well, it just felt like with this album, it's just like okay, a lot of things were kind of different, and I don't know. It just felt like by the time of doing this one, this felt like we might as well just fucking, do it the best we possibly can.
Yeah.
With a guy that we grew up with, like it's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
crazy. We're kind of like, okay, fuck it, let's do it right.
When you really think about it, it's like
Yeah, we
just
pretty
do
much did
that.
the whole thing ourselves as well.
Yeah.
Well, that's it, I think the main difference with the production and stuff, going back to that on this record, is just that, like, before we set up the gear, set up the mics, bam, and just blast it out. This is the first time we maybe went, right, okay, we're going to spend 3 days just doing Josh's drums in a studio, separate, just do that. And it's the first time he ever played to a click track, never played to a click track.
Yeah.
And
How was it?
took him a couple hours to, like, get his head, it's a hot,
One thing that was interesting was that
Josh nailed it. Just to add that, like, as if it was like he couldn't have been any better. I suppose.
But the thing is, I kind of noticed something that I think that Mark and also James, who helped engineer, as I said, I think they kind of they were doing things the way that they would normally do it, but seeing as we didn't have like a year to live in a house by the beach and write it, like I think they were doing it kind of like like as quick as we could in the time that we had. But I realized quite quickly that they sort of they realized that it didn't really need to be that perfect. Like they wouldn't allow a mistake to be in there, but they got to a point where it was like they weren't trying to get like perfection out of it, because they knew that's not what it was supposed to sound like. They weren't trying to get this thing that was sounded completely clean and flawless. Like it needed to sound like it was being ripped as hard as it possibly can be in a studio setting.
Of course.
You're ripping it,
so they kind of like they weren't in any way like overbearing or
that was the word I would use. They were really encouraging in the sense of like maybe in the past we'd just rip through a song and be like in the booth, how's that? Is that one good? Yeah, it's okay, cool, we'll take that.
Let's go.
Like third try or something. But this time it was maybe a case of Josh would rip through a thing and he'd be like, how was that? That felt really good. And he'd be like, nope, again. And it's like, right, okay. And he'd just do it again and it'd be like, and it can go on until he's like, yep, that was the one. And it's like, that's to me really encouraging, because that comes from a place of, I know they can do better.
That must be the question that they ask about this album.
Yeah, I mean, like every single fucking review is just like, hey, it's got that Mark Hoppus bass tone.
Yeah.
Well, that's because you're like,
I was playing through his gear with a Mark Hoppus bass. I can't really complain too much. But the thing is that like, I think people are quite quick to try and tie it immediately to anything that he's done.
We've been quite lucky where people I was scared that people would immediately say, oh, it's going to be like Blink, or it sounds like Blink. It's like, it clearly is never going to be like that, because we don't sound anything like them.
No, you don't.
And
There's obviously a lot of influence and a lot of
there's influence
similar things in there.
Trust me, it's not a time to we are so young and beautiful. How can you say that you're so
Tour life, how is band life in like 2016? Because I know like there's a lot of bands who struggle. There's a lot of bands who have jobs, other jobs, and all that kind of stuff.
That's us. We're all struggling and we're all poor. That's how it goes in 2016. You know? We're all in debt. We all have nothing, but we somehow get to like do stuff that is what I dreamt about when I was a kid. That's pretty much sums it up. I get to tour with my best friends. I get to see high times of experiencing the most kind of like, how the hell is this happening moments. But I can't pay my rent with that. And I'm lucky that those experiences are so fucking great that I don't care, and I source it from after work. We all have to figure out other ways to make it. I think people from the outside could think like, oh, they're doing this. Oh, this band, I heard they were doing that. Oh my god, I think you're just cruising.
Yes.
I don't know any bands.
No.
Well, I mean, it's always going to be tough because the basic thing is that strictly speaking, in the way that most people think that there isn't really any money to be made in music in terms of in comparison to just having any other kind of job, because it's quite there's no strict schedule with it, and it's quite unpredictable, but sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. I guess time essentially and patience is pretty much what ends up making it all worthwhile. But
Just
after the
even
street,
just
you know,
like the last thing I want to say about like the whole Mark thing is like, I think this is why it worked so well too, is because he comes from this. Do you know what I mean? Like, not his exact place, his exact thing, but he comes from the exact same ethic of when his band started. They were doing the same thing,
sleeping
sharing
in the
hot
van, eating
dogs.
gas station hot dogs and stuff.
Yeah.
They did all of that, you know, and I think that was very obvious in how easy it was to just click, you know. And but I just don't know any bands really that aren't superficially made thing by a record company and management and agents who actually make a band before they do anything, or they make a product and then sell it. Other than those kind of bands, I don't know any bands that are starting out that aren't working or just don't have any money and poor or sleeping on couches.
There are a few bands that can do that and also be like really fucking great. I actually like Churches are one band that like they kind of like, they had all been in bands before, but then they purposely formed this thing. But then they've also done it exactly the way they want to do it without any other bullshit, and they're absolutely killing it. It's
one
it's
of those things where when I must put my hands up and admit when Churches first came out, I was like, fuck this.
It seemed like a manufactured kind of thing, and it was a bit.
But as time went on, I really like that band so much because their ethics, because they do what they, as Brian said, they do what they want, they stand up for what they believe in, and they I think in some way try and make change within the
But they're also fucking massive, and it's like, it's like
great.
in the way where you're kind of like, go on, like, that's fucking great. You know?
Yeah, they're doing alright,
It's
right?
not like essential to struggle, to be like, to have that under your
and we
belt,
prefer not to.
But I think it does add an element of like, when you finally accomplish somewhere good, then you feel really good about it, and it seems worthwhile.
Touching on the like highs and lows, you guys you've had a lot of highs, right? I mean, you've like played with some of my favorite bands. We Are Scientists, We Promised Jetpacks, The Cribs, Alkaline Trio as well. I mean, playing with these kind of bands, I mean, has that changed the way you guys are a band, like live, or have you learned? Anything from these guys?
Certain things,
well, it definitely changes. Like, it doesn't change our sounds, but it changes the machine of it.
Yeah.
From being a young band who's never been on tours before, and then like Japan Droids, the band from Vancouver in Canada, they taught me more, I think, than anyone has. A lot of bands have taught me other stuff. Like, you pick up little bits along the way from different people. That's good, and you learn about little tricks of the trade, so to speak. It's like an apprenticeship when you go on tour with a bigger band. You really do feel like you're like learning about like how to conduct yourself, how to like maybe like tighten stuff up in terms of like not your sound. Well, sometimes it can help to like have a better idea of like your like what you should have in your backline and stuff like that, but not in terms of like with Japan Droids, we're just babies when we went on that tour, really, when we started like playing shows, because we were just like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, like, oh my god, going on tour, gonna drink a fucking bottle of whiskey every night, it's gonna be amazing, and just like killing yourself. But like, they quickly just like paved out like a skeletal, like, this is how tour works.
Yeah.
But without saying, like say that or anything like that, but just
Just
from
watch what they did.
watching what they did every night and how they did their shit, really switched a little thing in my brain from that point on, and then all the other shows we've done with bigger bands or even any band, it's like you're always learning little bits as you're going along.
Yeah.
It's like anything.
From their
We
crew and
don't-
stuff as well. Like,
Yeah, we don't sound anything like we're scientists, but we got on really well with them. But the one thing is that
We're best friends.
I think we've talked about this a bit before. Like we sort of realized that, like, there are a few bands that are able to have a way of being very kind of like, I don't want to say charming, maybe, but like kind of like engaging maybe with the crowd without being too self-serving or too over the top or talking too much.
Yeah.
And I think that, like, just playing with them all the night, like every night for like 3 different tours, and getting kind of smashed with them and stuff. Like, they would give us shots of tequila before we go on stage, and we're like, all right, guys, and then we would just start talking, and I think it loosened us up, and then we realized that you could do that in a way, like, you need to be able to have that, because there's nothing worse than going to see a band, especially when you've been waiting months to go and see, and then they're just completely nothing.
I've definitely learned something from every single band we've ever done
yeah, definitely.
on tour with or open for the bear.
Yeah. A good and bad, or
Both, sometimes
Yeah.
both, yeah.
We learned from Fucked Up that you can survive climbing head first down a pile of stairs with your mic still on you.
oh shit.
I don't know. It's
Definitely.
In terms of shows, that there's lots of similarities. You find a lot of the same people. A lot of the same people that are into the same kind of things.
So many variables.
I think
Yeah.
crowd-wise, UK
Depends
and
on the
America
place,
are
depends
kind of
on
similar,
the-
but because there's so many different places in America.
Europe's a bit stranger because there's distinct
Yeah,
language
because you're
barriers.
going, and also you're going through different countries which all have their own cultural identity,
Yeah.
where they might act different in certain situations.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, in the UK, most people act the same at a gig,
Yeah.
all over, and kind of the same in America as well. It depends. Like, obviously, it's such a big country; it changes from state to state. But because Europe, it's like traveling the same size of a place as America, but you're going
different
through
country
a
every
completely different country. They're going to be like, they have their own way of acting.
Yeah, totally.
You
I
can go and see, like, for example, we played in a couple of parts of Switzerland, and people were very, like, quite reserved, or so we
Right.
thought, but so kind to us after the show.
amazing.
Then we go and play in fucking Geneva, and it's like a punk, like, free-for-all. There's, like, crusties and skins, and, like, people just, like, skinning up on our, like, pedals before we go on, and just, like, everyone's just smoking joints and just ripping beers, and just, like, absolutely packed. So it's like, compare that to some other place. So it's hard to tell, you know.
I think
It
it
all
just
depends on the promoter that puts on your show also, because
Yeah.
they are going to be the person that's kind of representing the feel of the show, like
Yeah.
what kind of audience usually comes to that venue or that show or like that space. So I like it all just because I learn something every night, whether
Yeah.
it's good or bad.
I don't think you can do anything for that long and not have a few experiences that are maybe a bit shaky, for lack of a better term.
everything,
Sure.
like I said before, about this, everything that could have happened to you that day might culminate into it being a weird gig for you. But then sometimes we felt like it's been like a weird gig for us, and then people will be like, "That was great,"
Yeah.
and then you're like, "Oh, okay,
Really?
cool, yeah, great, thanks." Maybe I was great.
Yeah.
Has there been a highlight? If is there, or is it all just kind of, it's just all been an amazing
You
journey
mentioned a
so
lot
far?
of good stuff
I
already.
don't know if I would really classify anything as a highlight. Just, I don't know. Maybe when I'm 70 or something like that, I can like, look back and be like, "Ah, it was."
Yeah.
I just don't think
highlight."
it's
But-
time to be like putting lines
Reminiscent,
underneath
yeah.
things that are highlights. I don't think we've even like really started. I still think we're just,
But there's always that step back moment to be like, fuck, did
Oh,
that
yeah.
happen?
Well,
Like, we
I
did
will,
definitely that.
I will say one thing that was funny, and we were kind of talking about earlier, was that when we recorded with Mark when he was up in Glasgow, we were able to go to like a couple of friends of ours in this pub that Phil actually ended up setting up, and we ended up playing there just during the course of recording. We had this gig just to kind of practice some of the stuff we were doing, and Mark actually came down because he was still there, and we ended up playing like a song, a bunk song in front of him, and it wasn't like an obvious one. It was one
like
that
an homage.
yeah,
What was it?
And we played the song Waggy.
Okay, yeah.
And he was really nice about it and really cool, and apparently he was singing along to it and stuff, and it was really great. And it was so funny because like we brought him down and we knew that people would be like mobbing him, but he was loving it. Like he was like signing people's names,
Shit,
getting photos.
man, that's
everywhere.
awesome.
But what was when we were playing, we were like trying to see maybe if he wanted to come up and do something with us, and he didn't. He didn't want to cause too much of a fuss. So we finished, and then he just went on stage. Well, I think Jodie,
My girlfriend,
Yeah.
him and my girlfriend have been like kind of like for the night. I think they were kind of like like kind of hanging out, so
Yeah.
he wasn't like feeling like a little awkward just in the place. So like they'd just like been hanging out and getting along, and then they'd had some drinks, and she was like, "Come on, you gotta go play a song, and he was just like, "Ah, all right."
And he comes on and he fucking starts playing the guitar, it just like gets it going, and then everyone's like, ah! And so we're all like sitting like on the side of the stage going, what the fuck's he gonna play? And it's just a family reunion. And shit, you know, and it's just like, that's what he does. And as soon as he finishes it,
He's
like,
away.
it's off. Like, that's it.